Hello and welcome to Start Select, the video game show from GameSpot UK that's topping the iTunes Games chart thanks to you, our dear, beautiful viewers. We've got a bumper exclusive packed edition of the show for you this week. We're the first people in the world to play the new Joker challenge rooms in Batman Arkham Asylum. We're going to be talking to Rihanna, daughter of Terry Pratchett, about Overlord 2, and Mark Walton will be going hands-on with the finished version of Fight Night Round 4. We'll also be announcing the winners of last week's prototype competition, and we've got a new competition this week for free copies of Battlefield 1943 on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. But first, let's check in with Batman and the Joker in an exclusive hands-on with Arkham Asylum. Not only is Batman Arkham Asylum one of our most anticipated titles for 2009, it somehow manages to become even more enticing every time we see it. Perhaps it's because Eidos still has plenty to reveal about the game. From the few visits we've made to developer Rocksteady Studios, we'd say there are at least a couple of major characters yet to be revealed. One character that has been revealed though is the Joker, who is not only a playable character in the PlayStation 3 version of the game, but he has 8 specific challenge room levels to boot. We were lucky enough to be the first people in the world to play these levels as the Clown Prince of Crime, and we found him to be a completely different proposition to the Dark Knight himself.
Did any of you hear the one about the escaped patient hunting down the guards and killing them one by one? No? Stick around.
It's clear from our playtime that the Joker isn't just Batman in a different skin. He's a completely different character with his own strengths and weaknesses. The key difference is that the Joker isn't clad in body armour, nor does he have an arsenal of gadgets to hand. But what he lacks in strength and tech, he makes up for with pure anarchic destruction. He can unleash a pair of mechanical chattering teeth, holding a stick of dynamite which he can remotely control and detonate next to his enemies. And he can also run amok, performing stealth kills with his signature Joker twists, kicking enemies square in the groin for example, jumping on their shoulders and smashing them in the head, or spraying toxic gas in their face before dancing maniacally over the fallen body. These skills mean that the Invisible Predator mode is a completely different experience between Batman and the Joker. The Invisible Predator mode contains a set of unlockable levels, opened up by collecting items in the main game itself, where the aim is to take out all of the enemies as quickly as possible. Whereas Batman can swing from pillar to pillar, taking out inmates from up high, the Joker has to use each level's interconnected vents and drains in order to hide from enemies. And while Batman's body armour can withstand some indirect gunfire, the Joker can be taken down with a single shot. The Joker isn't completely helpless, however. Like Batman, he has a form of X-ray vision that he can use to see the skeletal outline of his enemies through the walls. The Joker's take on the technology is slightly more comical, however. He wears large spiral specs that make a hypnotic whirring noise as he wears them. He's also limited to using them while he's stood up, so you can't hide in the vents while studying enemy patrol patterns, which obviously leaves you vulnerable to attack. Finally, the Joker also has access to a gun, albeit with only one bullet. That said, it's still a useful weapon, if only for killing people and creating noise. Fire it off and the other enemies will investigate both the dead body and the area where the shot came from. We were left thoroughly impressed with our first play of the new Invisible Predator rooms, and Rocksteady has really delivered on its promise to make Batman and the Joker two distinct characters. The level we played, Paging Dr. Joker, was the easiest of all these levels, and Eidos promises that the later rooms will ramp up the difficulty with more enemies and fewer hiding spots. It's difficult not to mimic the Joker's crazed laughter as he tears up Arkham Asylum. The full game is set for release at the end of summer, and we get the feeling that Eidos still has plenty more to reveal about the game between now and then. You can find out even more about our hands-on with the Joker by reading our full preview on GameSpot.com.
Too easy. Played you like a violin and cut your strings.
Time to give away some prizes on Start Select now. Last week we had 5 copies of Prototype to give away courtesy of Activision. All you had to do was tell us the name of the engine that's powering the game. The answer is the Titanium engine, and the lucky winners that we drew out of the hat are Rory McLeod from Scotland, Thurston Johnston from Farnborough, Michael Adeniran from Essex, Bogdan Klimenko from London, and Pavan Birdie from Essex. Congratulations to all you guys. We'll get your details over to Activision ASAP. This week, the guys from DICE have given us 5 copies of Battlefield 1943 to give away, 3 on the PlayStation 3 and 2 on the Xbox 360. These are the exclusive codes that were given away to people who queued for hours on end at E3, but all you have to do to get your hands on one of these codes is answer this question. How many players does Battlefield 1943 support online? Get your answer along with your name and address to competitions@gamespot.co.uk before the 25th of June, and we'll announce the winners on the next week's show. Earlier this week, the developer of Overlord 2 dropped by our office to tell us all about the game, and Luke Anderson asked them all the burning questions, so let's go and check in with him now.
A new Overlord, you say? This is the last hope for evil? He's a little short. Whoa. Destroyed an entire legion? Bodies, screams, minion carnage? Oh, that is good news. Fire up the dragon! That'll melt him out of there.
Overlord is a game where you get to be the classic Dark Lord that you see in fantasy and science fiction. You got to build up your own domain of darkness. You live in the Dark Tower. You have mistresses and an army of minions that you use to conquer the world.
One of the phrases I think that best sums it up is it's like playing Lord of the Rings from Sauron's side. So it's about exploring what it actually means to be evil, and evil is pretty hard work when you get down to it, because evil has to be active, good can be reactive, good reacts to what evil does. But evil actually has to do the hard work. I mean, if you look at Lord of the Rings, evil has to, cut down forests and grow orcs in pits and things like that. There's a lot of work. All good has to do is go on a long walk and drop a piece of jewellery in a volcano. But evil is in there, working very hard, and so we kind of had a lot of fun with that side about the realities of being evil, of having a kind of evil fantasy world army. And I think people love playing with the bad guy as well. The bad guy always gets the best lines, and he's the most interesting. And so we've played a lot on that, I think.
Overlord is a third-person action game. So you send your minions around, you can sweep them through the landscape, and it's as easy as you maybe shoot a missile or rocket launcher or fireball in another game. And these minions are really the heart of the game. There are 4 types. There's the browns, who are the fighters, the reds, who are sort of like the archers, the blues, who are the priests, and the greens, who are the rogue assassins. And you use them to get through all sorts of puzzle and combat situations. And there are also your main ways to attack. Overlord 2 is the sequel to the 2007 original, which was quite a surprise hit. It's built on the franchise, extends it. We added a lot more polish. Minions can do now a lot more things. They can ride wolves. They can use siege machines. They can sail in ships. Overall, we really wanted to make it more epic. So the confrontations in Overlord 1 were you fighting a bunch of hobbits or a bunch of dwarves, and now it's more army versus army. And the new enemy in Overlord 2 is inspired by the rise of the Romans. So it's sort of like a new empire who swept across the land in your father's absence, was the old Overlord. He got sort of like banished to hell. And in that power vacuum, these guys rose, and they basically did that using the fear of magic. So they sort of like, okay, we gotta ban magic from the lands, and they hunted down every magic user, and they confined to this place. So in this sort of environment, you as the new Overlord heir get born, and you grow up in a remote area somewhere in the far corner of the land, and that's where Overlord 2 starts.
Writing a video game story varies wildly from project to project often, and it usually starts when you've first been brought on board, and that can kind of again vary. You could be brought on right at the end when you're just doing a little bit of polishing the dialogue, just getting a little bit better. You might be there right at the start, which is much less common, and helping sort of design the IP and the narrative themes of the world. Or you could be somewhere in the middle when there's a lot of levels being designed, and you're sort of basically crafting the story around the levels.
The Wii and DS versions are both unique games. They're not ports from the original or ports from Overlord 2. They've been built around the Wii mode. So you use the stick of doom, as we call it, to send your minions around the landscape. And the same goes for the DS version, where you use the stylus to send your minions around. Overlord 2 in Europe has a 16 PEGI rating. In the United States we have a teen rating, which I think is sort of like 13 plus. The game never tries to be shocking, like in a gory type of way. The game is parody. It's funny. You can do all sorts of evil things. Maybe some quite disturbing, but because it's parody and satire, we can sort of like open it up to a lot more people. And it doesn't become revulsive, but it becomes fun, and that's what these games are about.
I think that being purely evil is probably something people have wanted to do for a while. It's something you can do in games without guilt, and so I think games are great for exploring that. And I've really enjoyed games in the past that have explored that. I really love the Dungeon Keeper games. I was a big fan of those, and there's still one game I go back to and try and persist in trying to get them to work on XP or Vista, and trying to hunt down emulators to get Dungeon Keeper to work, and things like Evil Genius as well. I mean, it's such a fun side of morals to explore, I think.
Overlord 2 is going to be released for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 and PC. The Overlord Dark Legend is going to be is for the Wii, and Overlord Minions is for the DS, and they're all going to be released at the same time, which is going to be June 26th in Europe and June 23rd in the US.
Fight Night Round 4 is one of the biggest sports games of the year, and we took delivery of finished code this week. Mark Walton went 12 rounds with the game to check it out for Start Select, so let's go and check in with him now.
When EA's Fight Night Round 3 was introduced for the Xbox 360 back in 2006, it not only became one of the key titles that demonstrated the console's next-gen graphical power, but practically resurrected the genre, becoming the best boxing game in town. With the next title in the series almost ready for release, we took one last look at the game's new legacy mode and found that its competitors are going to have to do some serious training in order to knock this title out of the ring. Fight Night's career mode has been retitled Legacy and given a whole new look in Round 4. Legacy gives you the option of creating a boxer or selecting one of the featured boxers in the game, including legends such as Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis, as well as relative newcomers such as Ricky Hatton. Alternatively, the Create a Boxer mode allows you to select from one of 74 pre-made boxers or map your own face into the game using Xbox Live Vision Camera or EA's Sports World service on a PC. Legacy mode's main menu, Legacy Central, is where all the action happens. From here, you can view your boxer stats, including your rating, popularity and fight history. Rankings also make a welcome return after being ditched in Round 3 and are combined with the popularity and legacy ratings to mark your progress throughout the game. From Legacy Central, you can schedule fights with rival boxers into the game's fight calendar and take part in training sessions between fights to improve your performance. You can also simulate fights and training sessions should you wish, and the game determines the outcome based upon your current performance versus that of your competitor. Legacy mode also has a built-in message center, where your trainer will give you training tips and rival boxers will challenge you to fights. As you take on fighters throughout the game, your rank and popularity will go up. This in turn affects your legacy rating, which ranges from bum through to greatest of all time. You can view the different goals required to advance the ratings so you can see what to aim for. These include reaching a certain popularity rating, rank, or number of fights, and each additional rank provides increasingly difficult goals to attain.
Alright guys, listen up. Let's have a good clean fight. Alright, punch him up, let's go.
Once you've scheduled some fights and hit the ring, you'll immediately be impressed by the quality of the character models, which look almost photorealistic at times. All the blood, sweat and motions of the characters are meticulously rendered at 60 frames per second, with each landed punch feeling extremely satisfying due to the detail in the game. It's worth noting that even weedy 1-2 jabs have a rewarding thud to them. The control scheme has also been reworked, with the left thumbstick handling character movement, allowing you to duck, weave and dodge attacks. The right thumbstick, on the other hand, controls all punching duties. Quick taps to the top, right and left of the stick produce jabs, while a quarter circle execute hooks. And a separate movement, scarily similar to Ryu's Dragon Punch in Street Fighter, even lands uppercuts. While it takes some getting used to, the control scheme ultimately feels more natural than merely pushing buttons, and the game has an excellent tutorial mode which guides you through the basics. With the new Legacy mode, an improved control scheme, and more realistic graphics, Fight Night Round 4 is shaping up to be a great addition to the series. That's without taking into account the improved fight mechanics, high quality match commentary, and the classic slow motion replays, complete with grisly sound effects. The game is due out on June 26th, so keep your eyes peeled for a full GameSpot review soon.
That's all for this week's Start Select. Thanks to everyone who subscribed to us in iTunes and got us firmly lodged at the top of the chart. Remember, you can subscribe to us in both SD and HD by searching for Start Select on the iTunes Store. While you're there, make sure you check out the GameSpot UK podcast, our weekly audio show featuring news, guests and even more competitions. We'll be back again next Friday with another edition of Start Select, so make sure you get your competition entries into competitions@gamespot.co.uk and we'll see you next Friday.